Hello everyone, I'm Christopher Rogers, and this is the Amateur Fishing Project. There you go. Let's see if we got a little fish here. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes we do. We got a little fish here. Got away. I'll be darned. Today, I'm out here scouting a body of water that I'm unfamiliar with, and I just lost a decent fish. So I'm taking a little break now. And while I take this break, I thought I would use this opportunity to record this video. This video is something that I've been thinking about doing for the past few weeks. I'm going to share some tips with you on scouting new water. The reason I've been thinking about this recently is because this is the time of year that I do that. We are now in the middle of summer. We are in the hottest part of the year here in Northeast Texas. Since late June, the temperatures have been averaging from the high 90s to the low 100s. And we have at least 2 more months of that ahead of us. So what I'm doing now is I'm using this time to not really fish seriously, but to seriously scout some water that I'm unfamiliar with, so that when the weather does cool off and the big bass start moving back up shallow to feed, I'll have this in my knowledge base that I can use to hopefully find some areas to catch some big fish in. But even though I'm just scouting, I'm still catching fish. Like I said, I just lost a decent fish. And so I want to use this opportunity to share some of my tips with you in the hope that these tips will help you when you get out on the water to scout for yourself. Now, my scouting always starts at home. And the first tip that I have for you is do your research. Now, I am not so old that I don't remember what it was like to be a kid. And I remember when I was a kid and I came home from school, I was not real excited about sitting down at the kitchen table and doing homework. I didn't want to come home and do more schoolwork. But my first tip is research. And before you get out here, you need to do your homework. Now, fortunately, in this day, we have plenty of resources available to us. Of course, the main one is the internet. That is, an unlimited supply of information. But don't discount sources that predate the internet. And one of my main sources is printed maps. I did grow up in the Stone Age before there was the internet, and back in the day when I was looking at new water that I wanted to learn, I scoured maps whenever I could find them. Now, you're not going to be able to find maps for every body of water that you're interested in. But today you have the internet, and you can always find digital maps online of just about any body of water that you're interested in fishing, even if it's only an aerial photograph. You should be able to learn something about that body of water. But maps are a great resource for you. Now, when it comes to the internet, I not only look at maps. Here in the state of Texas, our Wildlife and Fisheries Department has an excellent website, So I suspect that other states' wildlife and fisheries departments have something similar. On our state's website, I can find information about how large a body of water is, and they have information about just about any public body of water you're interested in. When it was impounded, and most importantly, when it was stocked. You can find the stocking schedule for every lake that the state of Texas has actively stocked. It will show you the year it was stocked, the number of fingerlings that were released that year, and what species they were. So going into a body of water, you can have an idea of what size fish you should expect to find there. So that's tip number one. Do your research. Tip number two is habitat. When you go out to the body of water, what are you looking for? Now, I look for a combination of things together. I always find that to be more productive than any one thing by itself. I will take any one thing by itself if that's all there is, but I always like to find a combination of things. And what I mean by that is I'm looking for changes in depth combined with cover. I'm looking for two types of cover combined. I'm looking for aquatic grass and timber, things of that nature. Now, fish like easy access to deep water. They are cold-blooded, so they use the water column to regulate their body heat. They like having ambush points, so cover is important. The number one cover that I look for is aquatic grass, because aquatic grass not only provides ambush cover for predator species, but it also helps increase the oxygen level in the water to hold fish in that area longer. That's another reason fish go deep when it gets warm, is because the cooler water is more oxygenated than the shallower warm water. So if the shallower water has more oxygen in it due to aquatic vegetation, that's going to keep more fish there longer. So the one little golden nugget of information that I want to share with you, that I hope you will take away from this video if you take away nothing else, is what I have found from experience when I'm looking at a creek that I'm interested in fishing. I have found that the undeveloped shoreline of that creek is almost always going to hold more fish than the developed shoreline. And think about this in terms of deer hunting for a second. Would you expect more deer to be seen in your developed suburban neighborhood, or would you expect to see more deer in the woodland adjacent to your developed suburban neighborhood? So when I'm headed into a creek and I see one shoreline that's lined with lake houses with piers out behind them, and on the opposite side I see an undeveloped shoreline with no houses and no piers, I'm always going to expect to find more fish along that undeveloped shoreline. And that is the one little golden nugget of information that I hope all of you carry away from this video, if you carry away nothing else. Now, the last tip I want to share with you is lures. What lures do I use to scout new water with? I use 4 basic lures. I use a swim bait, I use a spinnerbait, I use a chatterbait, or I use a Texas rigged plastic worm with either a brass or tungsten weight. And the reason that I use either a brass or tungsten weight is because these are denser metals, and they allow me to feel what's on the bottom of the lake better than a lead weight will. So even though I have electronics on this boat, using either a brass or tungsten weight still helps me determine whether the bass I'm fishing in is soft and spongy, whether it's hard and sandy, whether it's hard and rocky, or whether it's, covered with brush. And the one thing I want you to notice about all of these lures is every one of them is a single hook lure. Because when you're scouting water, you want to be covering water. You don't want to be spending your time getting your lure unsnagged from obstructions underneath the water. So I save my rattle traps and my other crankbaits and my stick baits to use when I come back and fish water that I think will be productive at another time. So when I'm scouting, I'm only using single hook lures. And those are my top 3 tips for scouting new water. I hope that over the course of this short video, all of you have picked up at least one piece of information that you'll be able to find useful when you get out on the water. If you have, please hit the like button for me, because hitting the like button is just a little something that you can do to help me continue sharing this with as many people as possible. And if you'd like to follow the Amateur Fishing Project, you can hit the subscribe button. And that way, you won't miss out on any of the videos that I have upcoming. So until I have the opportunity to share this with you again, wherever you may be, stay safe.